First time. Having a heck of a time daily with emotional flood. My spouse and I have been together just shy of 8 years, 2 young children. Something went amok in February and she came home one day and flipped life right upside down. Heard it all, where she wanted to move out, space. I thought what the hell, told her how I really felt about her if she was doubting it. Wept real tears, even dropped the rings finally, truth was trickling in. Found out she had spoken to another man, but did not know how far it had gone. Proceeded to get married in March, but my intuition would not let up. In the end, she finally trickled to me that during the time period between February and just days before our wedding, she had slept with this guy 3 times. I got the truth from her completely just a week ago. 2 weeks after our wedding, I had to smash her phone because she was still in contact with the other man. I truly believe that white knight in shining armor had her convinced that he was some kind of saint man, and only now, after much explanation of the game and what men are really like to get into a woman's pants, does she truly understand. I do see regret and remorse in her, and I know her very well. For the first 8 years she had never done anything at all like this. I admit I was not very attentive for a period of time, always stressed about bills and money and worries of life, trying to figure out how my family was going to make it and get ahead. I admit I put her feelings for some time on the back burner. I can understand the basic need for love, but she swears now that she sees exactly what this guy did by flattering her with what she wasn't getting from me. She told me that all she really wanted was just for me to love her, which I do, but wasn't always showing. Are all men love dumb and too comfortable after a while, assuming their wife knows? I'm not sure, but I think we all tend to be. The guy himself is a slime ball, played the typical moves, taking an emotionally distraught woman on online sites and flattering her for the first few conversations to gain interest, then hooking her emotions by playing off her words to act like he cared. We all know the game and what comes next. Basically, used her and played her like a fool with no regard to the fact that when she crashed, her family and world would come right down on her. We've been together since she was fairly young, so she has no real experience with how cold, calculated, divided by and cruel men can be when they're on the hunt for a good time. I understand all these things, but it's the trust and fear of being emotionally destroyed again. We are still together because I know her to be a better person than what she had done, but all I can say when someone cheats right through a marriage with you is ouch. It's probably the biggest blow one can suffer. I forgive her because I chalk it up to her living a fantasy month, believing that there's some perfect men out there, but how you tell someone who has no idea that underneath the surface all men are animals at the core. I've been reading a lot about things, and I am sure we can save this and affair-proof our marriage, like the 5 languages of love. But does anyone else feel like if they do it a second time it's over on the spot? How could anyone take someone back after twice, 3 times? I feel sorry for those people who do not believe they deserve better. Fool someone once, shame on them, twice shame on you. I guess I'm looking for advice. It's been almost 3 months since the last contact and our wedding. I'm supposed to be happy newly married, but I am miserable. But yet some days are good. She does love me, and I think fell back in love with me, but the hurt is there. And it's really deep. Relapsing to bad days from the pain sucks. Looking at the wedding photos hurts. The movies are the worst. Either way, I'll struggle through and give her chance. One only. I knew every lie she told me was a lie just based on my guts. Follow them. I caught her in every lie by listening to my intuition. I have my home, internet divided by phones, and her on lockdown until I can be proven wrong, and it's kept her initial urges to contact the other man in check long enough for him to easily forget about her. Be vigilante. Oh, she's not innocent by any means, but neither am I, although I never stepped out of the relationship. I treated her quite poorly at times, but I never recognized those things until all of this crap came down. I believe she started seeking an emotional connect because we were so disconnected. And the other man, once the emotions were hooked, did use the typical male predator situation to push for the good time. Hook them and lure them. We all know this is how men work until they find the girl they want to marry, correct? It's genuinely a very easy way to get a girl you never actually ever intend a future with. She's thinking rainbows and sunshine with this wonderful new man, and he's thinking, when can I get my rocks off next? I actually found a search on the computer after the first time she did it, but before the second and third time that was on Google, asking if she can fix her relationship after having cheated, meaning she wanted to. But she also knew my opinion on it, and I believe in her mind she had already messed up her life. So there was no going back, and her best chance at not being alone was to continue along the path she had mistakenly taken. I'm sure she already knew at that point that she wanted me, but I believe she thought it would never be in her mind for what had happened. I think the entire gravity of everything dawned on her when she realized this other man was never going to take the role of me for her and our children, and at that point the gravity of what she did hit her. When I confronted her, she said the crash was the hardest thing, going from an imaginary scenario to sudden reality. Remorse and grief at what she had done to us and her family. We lay in bed at night now, and we do experience memories and that heart connection. She also wears the other shoe and is very much afraid that I will not forgive her and move on, and someone else take her place in her life. We've had talks about what life is really like starting over. The 2-year woo factor, which is actually more like 6 months where you have 2 kids and baggage before the other man realizes all the kids do is cut into bonding time. The reality is every new relationship is the same once the woo is gone. So the grass is only green where you actually water it. I do think she's concluded that she wants to commit to her family, and realizes it was the biggest mistake she could have ever made. She feels regret and foolish for being played a fool and so easily misled to destroy all she had and had built at the whim that something was going to be better freely without work. I think she's more willing now to turn to me, rather than outside the marriage if there are issues. Time will tell. I am not counting on anything. I am not getting any hopes up, so that I cannot be let down if she is not truly willing to go the moral route. I'm not willing to be broken down again, and I've made my stand with this, she's aware. And she knows that I won't give a third chance. She's still here. We are moving 1,000 miles away for a new job and new beginning. The one thing though that she doesn't understand is that although the affair may be over for her and in her mind and she wants it just to go away and move on with life and fix it, that my mind and heart are forever damaged, and it's far harder for me to let it all go and not want to bring it up. And I also realize at this point that the scars and images, movies, will always be there. My biggest challenge will be to let them become less frequent with the emotional waves that come with. I know that anything I say can bring more damage, but sometimes it's hard to hold feelings of anger back. Because after all, this was the ultimate betrayal. But when I look at it after the feelings of rage vanish, and I feel sane again, I remember in my mind that there were periods where I was a monster towards her emotionally too. I do not allow her to justify this, and I do not justify my actions either. A moral wrong is a moral wrong on either end. The hard part is that we made it through everything that life could throw at us for 8 years, being 100% faithful completely to each other, only to have this crap go south right before our wedding we always wanted. Life's a real beast sometimes. I've controlled the urge to want revenge, as I know it won't benefit anything. But damn it, there's days I feel like exploding and imploding and leveling everything around me, and then 10 minutes later the rage is gone. Left with sadness, I start counting and breathing. Certain things I hear from her set me off, and other things are so comforting that I feel almost like none of this happened. I know factually if she could go back and change it, she would, because the 8 years we knew we were closer than close to each other. It's almost like a switch flicked in her head for a month-long period, and then flicked back off. And she's the person she was for 8 years again. I actually believe she even has no idea why she did this. She cries about what she did because I don't feel she can even comprehend why. I guess I just have to learn to be more emotionally in tune with her. And I guess she has to learn how to communicate her needs that way better, so I'm aware. Apart from that, we have a pretty good thing, and always did. Yeah, sure, it's not cool as what she did, but she did come back and marry me, right? She realized something, had some kind of awareness happen. She sure doesn't like the other guy much, that's for sure. Like I said earlier, I am not blaming this on the other man, as she had choices and moral ones to make, but he did kind of lead her through everything with the physical push. I think in the beginning she was just looking for emotional connection. But hey, that's the inexperienced part of what men are really like with women. They are not looking at for marriage or a future. That's reality. If more women knew this, they'd be less inclined to destroy lives with men who truly love them for a few weeks or months of useless fantasy. Things will never be the same, but I'm hoping that we can use her learning to become stronger than ever. And something even deeper. Once I learn to forgive, that is. And the images get a bit less painful. I think when a man sees a woman, he wants a future with. That is where the true niceness comes in, and you don't make an immediate push for a good time, because then it becomes almost disrespectful. There are differences, and I am aware of that, so please don't be offended. Some people are genuine, but only to those they can see something actually with. I highly doubt a woman in a relationship with 2 kids was this guy's future dream girl, along with all her baggage, hence why he believed he could throw the charm on, hook her, lay waste to her life, simply for a piece of ass. And best case, suck her and use her to be his maid, babysitter of his kid, and pay half his bills. A married woman should be off limits, and a real gentleman would have told her, "What the hell are you doing? You have a family, kids, and a husband. Go home and work on that." So, there is no chivalry in this puke man, and no fantasy to someone like that. I respect myself, and each situation is different for each couple, and I'm not the type that couldn't easily wipe my hands, walk out and start something new immediately either. I am quite capable. But I also know my wife. We were in a bad place, at a bad time, and I wasn't as there as I should have been when she needed the emotional. I do blame her for her choice, but that doesn't mean I have to hate her for being human with a basic need for love. I don't accept the apologies though. Words now mean nothing. What I will accept is actions, and seeing her change to value what she has. and nothing less. If I didn't feel she truly regretted it, I wouldn't be here. As far as I am concerned, it's both of them. This was not a choice I had any choice in. I accept that. All the choices now are in my hands. None of them are easy. What keeps me holding on is the regret and remorse, and the realization that she chose her family. And the fact that I factually know that she is not the person she was for a month-long period. The other thing I've forgotten to mention is that she was also coming down cold turkey off some pharmaceutical antidepressants during this time period that were prescribed to her to deal with other issues in her life. A very dark past. She went from being an emotional zombie at the time when she did this to suddenly the person who could feel again. Right about the time I found out what she'd done. Trust me when I say this one truly regrets it. I'm aware of the statistics. And the numbers. And the women out there who are just plain cruel. But my wife was amazing up until this happened. I've been through 2 other cheaters before and not a single one of them actually gave a crap for what they did after the fact. I'm not blind, stupid, nor naive, and not easily mind-tricked at all. She now has to deal with the fact that she made a life choice over something she felt for only a short period of time. And damaged us. And our family forever. She doesn't feel good, that's for sure, but she wants to be here. And fix it whatever it takes. I've not been easy on her, because I'm one to believe that if you are, they won't realize that they won't get the chance to do it and hurt you a third time. I've put my foot down. Next time I walk, and she knows this. I don't think there will be a next time, and if there is, she is aware that she will never have another chance. I know she loves me, but I am not sure she was aware how much I loved her, if that makes sense. I feel she didn't think I really did. Women are fickle creatures, so I've learned, and I will be a more attentive, loving husband. But I won't do it a second time. She wasn't out there just looking for a good time, though. She was looking like most women do for an emotional connection, and she's never said she was naive. I said she was naive to think some magic man would come riding in on a white horse all shimmering, rather than a worn-out donkey. She knows what she did. She's explained how she was feeling. In hindsight, she is not proud, and in fact beyond shamed. It was a conscious decision for sure, one that if she ever makes again, someone else will have her life. But I do believe she learned from it. What I mean by naive is that she doesn't really know men that well. We've been together since she was quite young. I have now complete power to choose my own life. My eyes are wide open, and I will always follow my gut instincts from here on out, and not my mind or my heart, as they are easily misleading and swayed. I choose to stay because I believe this was something they regret and want to change, and some people have the ability to learn from something and change themselves. Not all but some, but even I've learned from the mistakes I made towards her, and I'm becoming a better person for it, hopefully for her, but ultimately for myself. Not everyone can find forgiveness and understanding. Not everyone can accept what happened, yet realize you may have played a part in their getting there. There are different reasons for people stepping out. The first part of determining whether you can save it or burn it is figuring out why. If you played a part in that, but she's still there, you have a shot in making your life better in my eyes. If she did it because she's a nympho, well, your only option is to run for the hills. If the person in general was a great person but you are not, but you've learned, and they're still there, what do you have to lose by giving them a second chance? And both of you learning from it? Probably nothing. Best case, you fix your issues and have a great marriage. Or worst case, you head where you were obviously headed for, which is basically starting over on both ends, going through the motions with new people only to realize that they're human too, and everything you went through with the last person will likely just happen again. At least that's my view. We were together for 8 years prior to making the leap, both of us completely faithful, this I know for sure, as I would have caught any sign and known. I am extremely intuitive. Perhaps she, having little experience with men, caught a case of cold feet and wanted to test the water just to be sure before spending the entire rest of our lives together, especially since the last couple of years have had some major ruts, potholes, and worrisome issues financially. I was ill, nearly dying a few times, feel better now, but that compounded into not being able to work full-time, some hardship, and struggling. I also don't think I was as appreciative or emotionally in tune with her as I should have been, and many of the arguments were basically me being very insensitive and harsh to her for things I expected her to view logically, whereas I've really learned much of what women do is purely emotional. Regardless, life is back on track. I feel healthier, just landed a really decent job, and outlook for my future is pretty good. I do think I can forgive her, because when I look at how I was treating her through the stress, I can see how she might pick up on an idea that I didn't love her at all anymore. Too much focus on everything but her. She came last, but only by pure blindness, and accidental oversight, and not lack of love. I didn't display any. Everyone wants to feel loved. It's no excuse to step over the line, and there is no justification to have done that instead of making other choices, like us seeking some help. But in a way, I can see how living daily with me and my insensitivity would have been confusing. In a way, I've created my own hurt. I have opened up and put my heart on my sleeve, taken the blows of anguish by hearing things I've never wanted to hear. But I do feel that she is remorseful. And certainly shamed. I think the look in my eyes alone when she told me was enough for her to never want to do this again. Overall, except this 1 month period, she's been an amazing partner. Mother, housewife, spouse, and so on. I think we just hit a rut that she felt she couldn't get out of. And I think in a way she knew she screwed up badly but learned that what she wanted was me, which is why she married me before I learned. She knew if she told me before that I would not have married her. And she would have lost the person she actually realized completed her. Everyone's situation is different. I don't blame myself for her choices. I do blame myself for making her feel lonely. However, forgiveness is easy. It's the trust that will be hard. I'm willing to give it a shot just to see, hard as it may be, but I'm not doing so blinded with closed eyes now. I'm wide awake and always watching. Funny how your entire world can be blown apart in just one sentence. Hurt is an understatement. So I am focusing on learning what I did wrong to make me a better person, and I can only hope that she's doing the same on the inside of herself. She knows I am serious, and she also knows that I am capable of stonewalling and walking away and never looking back, as that is what I did in 2 previous relationships. She knows that right now I hold the cards to my future. She knows that nothing she says will make a difference and everything is in actions. I've said this in solid firmness. We all know our spouses better than anyone else, so I do know that she is being sincere. What she did is honestly not like her at all, and I think she's even shocked herself that she could have done it too. Today she's racking her brain to herself to even figure out why she did this. She is realizing that everything she needed was right in front of her. I'm sitting in silence watching her teach her own lesson. I'm not being a pushover, and I've told her clearly that walking away from me and starting over again is just as easy as staying and letting her fix her mess. She knows I mean it. She's making efforts and just starting to come to terms that everything from here on out is on her end to save her marriage until I feel comfortable enough to recommit any trust and serious feelings again. She says it was the biggest mistake of her life, and I have said, prove it by actions and not words. I actually think she will. I've told her that I am no longer proud of her, and she knows she is not proud of herself. And I said, make yourself proud of yourself. And then perhaps I will learn to be proud of you too again. I'm not blind, but I see enough effort and sincerity to allow me to stay. She knows that one simple sign of anything and I'll be gone. I have put my foot there and it won't budge. I will, however, be kinder, more compassionate, and more sensitive when she wants to talk, but she knows my boundaries, and I honestly doubt she will step over again, knowing now what she will lose. Too bad it took all of this for her to realize everything she always wanted was right there in front of her. See my spouse in true remorse, our mode, reading books, trying to figure out how to fix us. But I still don't know if she understands the true damage to me over this. It's like she's okay, recognized the grass was no greener. He was a piece of crap. But she wants to just move on from this and fix us. Perhaps she feels too guilty seeing me in such pain that she's blocking out things. She told me she's actually having a hard time remembering what his face looks like, but if she was to see him in person, she would recognize him. Either way, we're doing okay. I still have waves of pain that hit me 4 months later. And I try and cope, but sometimes the tears just roll. I still have a habit of asking why and still sometimes feel I am being too hard on her when I can clearly see that it's over and she's out of the fog. I just wish we could switch places inside each other for a day so she could see the true damage. It's hard to feel the same for someone you were madly in love with after such a thing, and it hurts her to know that I do love her but probably don't feel the same at all. I hope it gets easier and better, and that I can learn to love this new person I am married to, and not the one that died in my mind on D-Day. Hoping this all gets easier. I do love her, but I just wish she could be me for a day. She is doing things to fix stuff, like being closer. Completely NC, and I know this for a fact since she's been under lockdown since D-Day, did not leave my side even once. My PC is monitored, certain websites, words blocked. She's doing all she can to show me, and just finding it hard to move on. Anyone have some good tips on how I cannot be so hard on her to feed the love bank required to help her keep building back the connection to me, without me blowing it with my anger, sadness, and overall blah feeling? Curious from some of those who have had a successful R, and from a woman's perspective as well, some of the things that can reintroduce the love bank feelings and build them. I already know the affair is over, and that she will affair-proof her marriage now. So how to start all over and start a new 8 years. Just a little in limbo. My love language is physical touch, and hers is affirmation. Affirming right now vocally is a bit hard. I try, but then something hits my mind, and I feel I need to voice it. It's like the love bank gets a deposit, and then a withdrawal shortly after. I don't want to be taking withdrawals, but I can't help my feelings when they arise. I know logically filling with no withdrawals is the correct thing to do in order for love to flourish. Are there techniques to deal with the pain as it comes without expressing too much punishment for something they already regret? I know why she had affair. I wasn't very attentive due to compartmentalizing worries, stress, and other things in front of her emotional needs. It's no excuse, but I did leave her feeling very lonely for a very long time. She went into a bit of a depression, and was on antidepressants at the time, and was actually coming down off them after quitting cold turkey. Brain was a bit messed. Would she be so forgiving? I believe so now. She felt so bad she offered me a free pass to go do it back once only. I had full opportunity, and said no. For us, we've had a very, very close 8 years, never had a problem in the bedroom, bonding daily. Sometimes 2 or 3 times per day. And whatnot. It was her purely seeking emotional because I was not there mentally for some period of time. There's still no excuse for cheating, and she knows this. And she atones for this. She would do it all a different way now, and not cheat. This I know. I think the realization of how much I did and do love her was enough to wake her up. All she ever wanted was affection and me. I didn't give ever. I mean ever. I've learned a lot recently, and applying it, and we are connecting again and feeling it on both ends. Tonight, in fact, we have a romantic night planned. I feel that she wants to reconnect, and I am being a bit too hard on her. I just didn't want her to think she got off too easy. 2 other relationships in my life I was cheated on. This is my first real R, as I kicked the 2 others to the curb as hard as I could. She knows this. She's working hard to prove it was a big wrong, and she knows it. And working on forgiveness and compassion. This might sound stupid as we've been together for 8 years and didn't separate, but I do find if I view the piece of crap other man as simply an ex-boyfriend, it helps. All the while this was happening, she never once left and moved out. She was on a fence. Here was me, comfort, and here was him, pretending to be a white knight on a big white horse. But she did figure out that he just wanted a good time, while she actually just wanted someone to talk to emotionally. He got too pushy and showed his colors very quickly to my benefit. This only went on for 3 weeks. We've been together since she was really young, so she really had no idea how manipulative men can be when pushing for good time. Hard lesson, and nearly destroyed our lives for something that really didn't exist, like the movie fantasy romance. We were in a real bad rough spot, completely disconnected. I was disconnected as well, and could just as easily have had an affair at that point as well, but chose not to. There's no excuse. She acknowledges this. But people can change. I've made life mistakes before too. She does feel remorse and regret and considers it life's biggest mistake, which is honestly more than most WS can or will say. We've just been busy making plans for an actual future and learning and affair-proofing our lives now. She's done much reading, learned about the dopamine effects, the fog, how to avoid potential harmful situations. And frankly, seeing me in so much pain has reinforced her guilt to a level that I don't honestly think she's capable to recommit. See, we've always loved each other very deeply, but had been to a point where both of us thought the other one didn't love. If that makes sense. We had lost our communication over life stress, but not our actual bond. Our bond had been very strong for most of our time together. Time to rebuild stronger and pay more attention to each other on emotional levels. It was not a physical disconnect. Emotional was where it was. Financial stress, compartmentalizing. Meanwhile, some guy rode along pretending to be Mr. Perfect. At a time where she was coming down cold turkey from heavy antidepressants that were designed to help combat some of the stresses we were going through. She made poor judgment thinking this guy was being so nice. Luckily, it was short-lived, couple times, and she realized that she was and had done some serious harm, and that the grass was far browner on the outside. Hard to really explain it all. She is one of the few who has no desire to ever hurt herself, us, or our family again. She will come on here and tell you herself how crappy she feels if you wish. But see what the problem is the sadness I feel daily. I am having a hard time coping with the feeling of loss and depression, and the movies and everything crappy that gets handed to you as a BS. Life will get better as we're working towards a common goal, I am sure. But it's just tough getting through this crap, as we all know. It's just that some days the pain is harder than others. Forgiving is the easy part, but forgetting is a nightmare. She's done everything right from every piece of advice you can find online to fix and mend her marriage, other than to try to move on too quickly because her mind wants it to all vanish. Which I am sure is due to guilt and shame, but my mind isn't there yet. We're not trying to work too fast. I wish to make the deposits because going back in my head the last few years I had done nothing but withdraw from the bank. I wasn't a very loving person at all. Too many worries at the time to even have thought about her emotional needs. I do believe we are on a good path because she's been trying to feed my needs too. And we've been spending pretty much every single minute together since months ago to take the time. I just know that when she's feeling loving towards me sometimes, I am blowing it by triggering and letting loose a barrage of indignities when I should probably just shut my mouth at that time. I know it's okay to feel, but sometimes my mouth reacts before my brain thinks, and especially with all these newfound emotions. It seems I would be a fool to knock her down emotionally when she's actually showing affection. It's like I struggle to believe in my mind whether she's being sincere. Yet I know logically she is by all her actions. Her appeal was so short-lived that there wasn't a large amount of time to emotionally attach too deeply. And I know factually she's had zero contact. And just today we went to the library and got yet another book called Intimacy After Infidelity. Looks to be a good read. Last night we read Bringing the Passion Back. Each day we're reconnecting, and I don't want her mind to click saying, hey, I'm doing everything you want me to do. Yet it's not enough. The reality is she is doing everything I want her to do to prove to me, but I still feel like I am demanding the impossible of her. I'm sure I am, come to think of it. I was so adamant that if anyone ever cheated on me again, I'd never forgive them. So now it's like I expect the person who did to move heaven and earth if they want to be with me. My expectations, I believe, are actually too high when all I should be looking for is remorse, sincerity, truth, love, rekindling, and feeling her reattached to me. Today is Saturday, by far the hardest day this week. How come suddenly over 3 months later everything is boiling up so bad? I'm finding myself anxious, angry, semi-aggressive in my stance. Is it because I'm getting stronger, feeling resentment, realizing the depth of the betrayal? I still want a successful and I still love my wife, but I feel almost like she destroyed me emotionally and she gets a free pass. I guess it's not that free really. She should by now probably completely realize the toll it's taken, the agony I've been going through, and the fact that I am having a hard time looking at her the same. The loss of my respect for her and pride probably bothers her. She's not proud of herself and feeling the shame, guilt hugely. I think she feels stupid for ever doing what she did. I feel like I'm being a jerk for rubbing it in. I just wish she could crawl into my heart for 1 hour. She could see the torment in my soul, the hurt, the agony. Then I'd not have to try and verbalize something I've never felt like this before. I'm a bit bad at wordplay and tend to come off quite blunt and straight up. It's probably not a good thing. I just don't want her to feel like she would ever get away with doing this to me again, because she won't. At the same time, I want her to understand the pain and realize that the chance I am giving is actually a gift of compassion and love, and something I would give to nobody else. I do love her and wish for everything for her to work her hardest to save the family she dismantled and find that love inside her again. It's going to take some hard work on both our ends. I just need to feel I can trust enough to pull close now, rather than the instinctual push. I think we'll make it through this, but some days are harder than others. Today's one of them. At least I know there is NC, and she truly regrets it. I just wish I never had to feel all this pain for her to realize what she has. Fast forward to today. Woke up, took our daughter to school with hardly any conversation at all on a good 40-minute drive. On the way home after stopping to get us coffee, I look over and see her eyes welled right up with tears streaming down her cheeks. I didn't say anything at first but just observed. I sensed true remorse and guilt. I asked her what was wrong as we drove down the highway, and she said, I am sad. And I asked what about, half expecting a bit of nothing that really meant anything to come out of her mouth. She replied, I am sad because my life is unraveling, and I caused all of this. I looked at her and said, I guess you finally see it. She said yes and continued to silently shed tears for about the next 15 minutes. Full-blown tears. We drove in silence home, holding hands on the shift knob of our vehicle. We haven't fought, argued, or said anything wrong today to each other. A weird sense of peace in otherwise messed up situation. My wife has turned very loving. It's like a complete flip. I know she senses my hesitation. I know exactly where you're coming from. I do believe she's completely out of it now, and the realization of how much she does love me, and how horrible of an offense she committed is full weight on her now. I'm just completely gun-shy right now. It's going to take a whole lot of action. I find myself having to remind myself not to believe anything I hear yet, or allow myself to be vulnerable until I am 100% sure she is being 100% authentic. Not some more trickle truth yesterday. Hurt like hell. Details. Although, I did gain a bit of respect by the honesty. That's a good sign in my opinion. I didn't like the content, but the effort to come clean was the right thing to do. Sometimes knowing everything is the worst, but I guess complete honesty is what will eventually allow one to heal, no matter how bad the things are. On the ferry now. Move 1000 km away in progress. Other man did something yesterday that burst the bubble in response to a Craigslist post I had left for him, knowing he reads it. He basically insulted my WW, saying how she's not the first nor the last, and it really hurt her feelings to finally realize he was just a pig. Starting over now. I think in a way she was still in the fog until he called her easy. My biggest concern is that she did this to me. I could care less about the other man other than I wish him a fiery car wreck and slow burn in it. Weeks later. Still struggling on, but feels good to be away for now. My comment: how you guys like this short one? Can a marriage be rebuilt after this? Sub and bell.